Are you ready to bring in 2025 in a totally different way? Now, I know that there's a lot of goal setting and this kind of hustle culture out there, but what if there's a different way to set goals in your life and a way to use your uniqueness, your values, and your intention for your life as a way to set goals? You can join me, and I am going to show you step by step over 4 days, less than 10 minutes a day, how I set goals and make them achievable, and how you can keep your excitement and enthusiasm, but most of all, get through the entire year and achieve your goals. There's a way to kind of hack the brain just a little bit to get what you want. Now, this isn't about losing weight or going to the gym or fitting into those jeans. Those are not the kind of goals I'm talking about. I'm talking about goals that are like in your heart, in your soul of who you are, that just light you on fire and where you work towards what you want in your life, way bigger than just losing a few pounds. So sign up, ceciliamanella.com/2025. And this is a free workshop where I will give you instructions for 4 days. Starting January 1st, we'll go to January 4th, and I'm going to share with you my secrets around goal setting. Do not let 2025 be kind of like 2024, where less than 5% of people achieve their New Year's resolutions or their New Year's goals. You can be different. Again, that's ceciliamanella.com/2025. Join us and make 2025 very different. Welcome to Mental Makeover Radio, your go-to destination for meaningful conversations about mental health. I'm your host and your trusted therapist bestie, Cecilia Manella. Join us as we explore the complexities and messiness of human experience by addressing your questions and concerns. I'm here to provide a straightforward and practical therapy advice. So grab your favorite beverage, whether it's tea, coffee, or whatever tickles your taste buds, and get ready to embark on a mental makeover. Hello and welcome to Mental Makeover Radio. I'm your host, Cecilia Manella. I am glad that you're here today. It's December and we are in the midst of the crazy of Christmas time. So whether you're running around or not, whether you feel like you've got all your Christmas list stuff done or not, I'm really glad that you're tuning in today and just giving yourself like 15 to 20 minutes of self-care and just for you. Today, I really want to dive into the idea of, outcomes versus process. Now, this is a lot of what we talk about in therapy, but I really want to apply it to everyday life and maybe challenge you to think about things just a little bit different. So, we're constantly inundated with outcomes. Now, we love outcomes. Like, we are obsessed with outcomes. We want to get to the end of something. We want to move to the achievement of something. We want to be able to say we did the thing. And for example, you can see that as in goal setting, but really where that shows up a lot in our personal lives is also in navigating challenging situations. Now, maybe outcome focus makes sense when you're talking about goals. Let's say if you're wanting to earn an extra $5,000 a year, let's say, and that feels a bit more tangible in the sense that you want the outcome and you focus on the outcome. And what I'm challenging you to think about is that the fruit of your labor comes from the process, not the outcome. And there's research that actually backs this up. It's super fascinating and interesting. So there was this research project that was done around people who ran marathons. Now, if you are a runner, high five to you. It is definitely not my thing, but I do admire those who do marathons, half marathons, or just kind of run on a regular basis. And so they did this research around the level of enjoyment and the level of fulfillment that came from running a marathon. And what they measured was the fulfillment around either the end product or the process of getting there. And what they found is that those that shared about their process, so shared the training, shared with their friends around their progress, around small achievements, around, just gaining a little bit more distance every single time, when they shared about their process, they actually enjoyed the marathon significantly more than those who just focus on the end product of just completing the marathon. And that those that just focus on completing a marathon felt a sense of accomplishment for a short period of time, but it actually wasn't long lasting. So that that sense of accomplishment at the end of the marathon didn't was not sustainable over long periods of time. But those who enjoyed the process and shared about that process actually found more fulfillment and more enjoyment for a longer period of time after completing the marathon. So what does that tell us? What that tells us is that if we focus on the process, we'll actually have more fulfillment, more joy, more happiness, more engagement, instead of just focusing on the outcome. Now, how this shows up in other areas of life, it's not necessarily just goal related, but let's talk about like relationships. And we're all in relationships, one way or the other, whether it's work relationships, parenting relationships, you've got kids or don't have kids, a partner, don't have a partner, friends, whatever it is, we're constantly in relation to other people. We're constantly in relationships. So what's interesting around, let's say even couples, is that often that they come to couples therapy and they focus on the outcome, which is maybe we are having all this conflict, and what we want, the goal is to not have the conflict or to resolve that conflict, to get to the end point of not fighting as much, or finding a resolution to something that has people on different sides of the fence, or they want to resolve this one thing and never fight about it again. And what I'm constantly reminding people that it's not the outcome of a conflict that's actually important. It is how you develop the process of that conflict that is really important. Because the truth is, and I know that you know this to be true, is that the outcomes are constantly changing. So we're talking about conflict in a relationship. There's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be a differences of opinion or a different approach to thing, or you just think differently than your partner, which we all kind of do. I mean, hopefully we're not in relationship with a clone of ourselves because, well, that would just be really boring. And when we have differences of personalities and different people, we have conflict. So it's not about avoiding conflict or not having conflict at all, because again, that's where we're focused on outcome specific, not having the thing. But what we need to focus on is actually the process of having the conflict. And how do we develop a way, a process where we are mutually respected, where we feel that we're both being heard, that our different perspectives are being respected in that way. So there's understanding. We want to feel seen, heard, and loved through something to get end around what that conflict is about. So we don't want to focus on the outcome necessarily. We want to focus on the process. I hear this a lot from people who do a lot of personal training, or they're involved in this kind of like achieving this physical goal, let's say, that you can really get caught up in the idea of like the end product. Let's say if you're going to compete in a bodybuilding event, and there's a lot of focus on the end of the competition, but those who are really successful are the ones that actually focus on the process of getting there and fine tuning that process so they can find some joy and some fulfillment along the way. Now, why is this important? Why is it important to focus on the process and not necessarily the outcome? Is because some things can take a really long time to get to. Some achievements or things that you want can take months, even years to get to. In the idea of being just miserable or unsatisfied through that entire time to get to this goal or this achievement that you want, that you put on a pedestal thinking that is going to give you the thing, whatever the thing is, it's going to give you happiness, it's going to give you fulfillment, it's going to give you joy, it's going to give you something. If we're always focused on this thing that is going to bring us all this emotional reward, we're missing the point, because the process is actually the point. That is where we learn new skills. That's where we grow. That's where we have a lot of discomfort. And we grow in this discomfort. We discover new things about ourselves. We discover new things about other people. We sometimes adjust our goal because we find something new along the way that we never could have predicted. Doors will open that you never even thought were possible. or you didn't even know existed. So if we're too focused on the outcome, the end product of where we want to be, what we do is we kind of put blinders on and we just focus on that thing. And we forget that in the process of getting to a direction of where we want to go, is we are filled with numerous other opportunities. And in relationships, what's important about the process is as a couple or as a friendship or as a parent or as a daughter or a son or a leader, any of these relationships you have, it is the process that actually matters. It is not the outcome. It's how can you develop a process that is mutually agreeable, that honors the relationship, that is has integrity, has respect, has honesty. The process is the key. It's not the outcome. And maybe it's because we're so outcome focused in culture. And maybe because everything is instant gratification right now. You can have the same day shipping on Amazon. You can have instant mashed potatoes. And everything is so instantaneous. If I want it, I can have it right this second. And if not right this second, then for sure it's going to happen at some time at the end of the day. I don't have to wait anymore. There's no waiting. There's no anticipation of the waiting. There's no rewarding the process. We've made the process so short and so instantaneous that we have really focused on just the outcome of things. And we forget that we have spent thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years as humans without really having that instant gratification. We were focused more on the process. Think about farming. I know most people listening to this are probably not farmers, but let's just think about farming. I eat food, you eat food. These are all farmed products. And farming is all about the process. If you like plants or being in nature, that's all process focused. That's not outcome focused. Now, why do you think you're outcome focused? And I'm making a big assumption here because most people are. Heck, I know about this and I still get to be outcome focused. I still get recruited into this idea of wanting the end product and not really focusing on the process of getting there. Even though I know because I've experienced this and I talk about it all the time that being process focused actually leads to more joy, more fulfillment, and more happiness in your life. I know these to be true. And I also still struggle with it. So it's not about perfection. But I want you to think about like maybe why you are focused on outcomes and not so focused on process. And what would have to happen for you to be more focused on the process and how to just enjoy it a little bit more, how to find some fulfillment in that process driven goal setting in that sense, or how to be a bit more focused on that process and take your eye off the prize, so to speak, take your eye off the end product, take your eye off the outcome that you're looking for, and focus more on the process itself. What are you learning about yourself? And what are you discovering along the way? What new things are you being exposed to? And what fun and exciting and nuanced things or experiences or people are you having access to by focusing on the process? What are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about other people along the way? What are you learning about your relationship when you focus on process? How can you fine tune the process a little bit so that the outcome doesn't feel, not that it's not even that important, but it's just not the only piece of the puzzle. We can still want the outcome. I'm not saying get rid of wanting to be the outcomes or setting goals. And actually, in fact, I love goal setting. So much though that I'm doing a free workshop on it. And because I want to teach you how to focus more on the process and find joy along the way so that the outcome in some weird way feels inevitable that it's going to happen. But it allows you to really enjoy the learning along the way instead of just powering through to the end. And if it doesn't end up being perfect on the other side, that somehow it means the whole thing was a failure. So if you didn't achieve the specific outcome you're looking for or that you set out to do, and it doesn't look the way that you thought it was going to look, or you didn't quite hit the mark, let's say, of the outcome you wanted, and instead of deciding that that's a failure somehow, we can look at the process and see so many wins along the way. Because in that process, in those wins that experience and you can identify and you can track and that you write about, you realize how much you're learning, how much you're growing, and how much your life is going to be different. And so this is about creating depth in your life instead of staying a little bit on the surface, let's say. I don't want to call it superficial, but it's very surfacey. When we're just looking at things and outcome focused, it gets really surface. And inevitably, we're not going to measure up to the outcome that we're looking for. Why? Because if we're only looking at outcomes and we're not looking at process, we don't see the obstacles along the way. We don't see that the path isn't linear. It isn't this well paved road that you're going to be on to get to the outcome that you want. The outcome that you want is on the other side of a mountain and there's no trail. You've never done it before. If you're setting your sight onto an outcome you've never done before, you've never achieved before, then that path it's never been walked. So it's like going into a forest without a trail. And maybe you'll catch a little a little trail here, a little trail there, but you're going to have to bring your machete and take down some vines and get obstacles out of your way. So if you're looking at just the outcome, you're missing the point of being a trailblazer in your own life to get to what you want. And there has to be joy and reward in the process, or else everyone abandons the goal. They abandon the outcome that they want. And I know you've experienced this. I've experienced it. Everyone I know has experienced it. Is that we set this goal and we don't focus on the process. And what happens if we don't focus on the process, then we get really down on ourselves and it feels like a failure. And I don't want you to feel like a failure. I want you to feel like you have success and that you can be proud of yourself and that you can talk about your process with people, that you can be proud of the process that you're in, that every single little step that you take in the direction of where you want to be matters. And here's the thing, and I find this to happen like 99% of the time. If you get too focused on the outcome and you aren't just setting a direction of where you want to be, you'll get to the place, you'll get to the outcome and realize it's just so unfulfilling because what it took to get you there has changed you. And in that change, you'd never readjusted the outcome. You've never really readjusted the goal a little bit to take into account that in the process of getting there, you are a different person. And that maybe you don't want the outcome as much anymore, or maybe the outcome needed to change and adjust and morph along the way. Because of when you're learning new things, we adjust what we want. And so it's not about, not having a direction, because I think it's important to have a direction, but maybe not to be so rigid on the outcome that you're looking for, to be open to the magic of the experience, to be open to the wonderment of opportunities you never knew existed, the ability to just allow yourself to be in the shit sometimes, allow yourself to be in that discomfort of it, and be okay with that, knowing that getting to the outcome you potentially want is incremental steps along the way. It is not linear. It's not perfect. It's not increase every single day at the exact same way or method, or the process in itself is not linear. It's not a box that you check. Everything's changing constantly. Your moods are different. Your energy levels are different. Your focus is different. Life freaking happens and takes you off course sometimes. This is all the adventure of it. We're not robots. We're human beings. So we have to be human through this process. And that means we need to be really flexible and we need to be open to new opportunities and we need to enjoy that process. Because if you do not enjoy the process, I can guarantee you're never going to get the outcome that you actually want. So I want you to really think about that. Where else in your life are you too outcome focused and not process focused? And how can you take some steps to shift your energy into being more process instead of outcome. So if you're normally 90% outcome focused, 10% process, let's just even bring it down to 60/40. Ideally, I'd love for you to be a complete opposite, to be 90% process focused and 10% outcome focused. But let's just like move in that direction to change kind of where you're putting your energy, where you're putting all of your thoughts into. And are you learning along the way, or are you missing opportunities to learn because you're too focused on the outcome? And trust me when I tell you, this will radically change your life, your work life, your parenting, your intimate partnership relationships, your friendships. Everything will change when you start focusing on the process, because life kind of slows down just a little bit, and you find that there's moments of joy and happiness and fulfillment and feeling successful and feeling proud of yourself because you've slowed down just a little bit to actually enjoy the process and just take your eye off the outcome just for a little bit. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to disappear if you take your eye off of it, because the process is happening right now. It's your current moment, and the outcome is a future thing that we're holding on to that hasn't even happened yet. So reward yourself for the process, focus on that process, and ask yourself, what is it going to take for you to be more process focused versus outcome focused? And make those a little bit of a changes. If you want to join me, January 1st, I am going to release a workshop free. It's over 4 days, takes less than 10 minutes a day for you to participate in this, where I'm going to walk you through my value driven goal setting process that takes all this stuff into account. Um, There'll be lots of people participating in that. You can sign up for free at www.ceciliamanella.com/2025. I'll leave a link in the show notes as well for you. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I look forward